Hello out there, Nathan Leonard with you for another gear-related video. Just going to talk you through my other pedal board. I had a bit of interest in the last pedal board vid that I posted. So yeah, just thought I'd talk you through this one as well. It was really designed to go with the Brent Mason signature telly for the Chickenpickin country twang stuff that I like to do, and really love this guitar. I got it for my birthday a couple of years ago, and then wifey shouted me a Skype lesson with Brent a couple of weeks after I got this one. And so, yeah, it's just a great axe. And sounds good through this signal chain, but I've tried all sorts of guitars with this one. And, you know, they're all good. So this was really, you know, trial and error, me figuring out, you know, sort of a working man's board with a few options, you know, the type of music that I play, and a couple of lucky breaks. You know, I just sort of found the pedal board used with a hard case and the looper as well. But let me show you what we got. This is pedal board that I've been gigging with now for a few years, and you know, it's just a never fail pedal board. It's always sounding good no matter what backline amp I've got going on, and especially when I get to play through my amps. Usually I'll take a Fender Deluxe, which has a greenback in it. Or I've just scored this Marshall JTM 45 20 watt, the Studio Series. That's a combo, and they're sounding really good to me as well. And so I just like something which is kind of loud and clean and gives me that headroom, you know, as a pedal platform. And so this one here works like this. Obviously the tuner. I like these little Didarios. They just take up a small amount of space. True bypass and just a good display, especially for outdoor gigs. You know, they work nicely as well. And then really these two pedals are kind of always on for me, which is the one player mini version of the Ego compressor there, obviously on Brent Mason's recommendation. But I quite like this one because I can add the treble back to it. A lot of those compressors will, in my experience, just kind of taper the top end, and I'll lose a bit of brightness. So for me, that one just has that voicing switch there, which allows me to add treble back in. And, you know, I don't have a lot of mix there. It's, you know, maybe 10-15% of mix on the compression, but it's almost more a feel thing. But it just kind of squashes my clean tone down enough to play nicely with these other pedals here, and hopefully just sit me in the band mix, you know, a little bit cleaner for the sound guy as well. So that's kind of my front end running into the RC booster. And so for me, that's just always on. The only thing that I would adjust there, and you know, they're pretty standard settings for those people who use it. Everything's just 12 o'clock and the gain is just running, you know, at, what is it, 9 o'clock. So that one there just gives me a little sparkle. If I dig in, it'll break up for me. But for the most part, I kind of think of it as a EQ stage. It does make me just sound a little bit more expensive, I suppose, but I can also just add, you know, that treble or bass, depending on the room or depending on the amp. And yeah, it'll just kind of get me to a good bass line where I want to be. And next up, I've got the Timmy. This is a version 2 or 3, I don't know. I've had it for a little while, and after kind of getting into, you know, the reductive EQ and how that all works, you know, for me, it's just giving me that crunchy rhythm tone if I want it, but it's also giving me, you know, a light, clean boost sort of solo tone, and for me, the sustain and saturation is there. If you push the gain a lot more, it'll get you into that Zen Drive territory, but for me, it's kind of that first stage of gain where I just want to either register as clean sonically with what I'm playing, or use it as a crunchy rhythm tone. And it does that quite nicely for me. That might get swapped out for a Greer Lightspeed at some point as well. I'm just kind of waiting for one of them to pop up on the used market. But yeah, I really love the Timmy. But for me, I think maybe the Greer Lightspeed, and I have had them before, might just give me kind of the rhythm tone that I'm hearing in my head. Although I do love this pedal, and I think they'd probably be interchangeable when I get the Lightspeed. The Zen Drive, you know, I've had this for many years now, and it's always been on one of my boards along the way. It's just a really great lead tone. I always used it with humbuckers in the past, but for me, you know, I was watching a video with Robin Ford and he just mentioned what that voice dial is about. It's either kind of Marshall-y or Fender-y. And so, you know, I've just kind of mixed it to taste there, and there are my magic settings for that one as well. But for me, that's kind of my never fails lead tone. It always sounds good no matter what guitar I'm putting into it. Sounds killer with the telly, just sounds really fat and singing and sustainy and dynamic as well. So even with the compressor and all that kind of running before it, it's very rare that I'll stack those two. It's usually either one or the other, depending on, you know, what the song requires. But that one for me, and a bridge pickup on a telly, is a really beautiful combination. So yeah, that's kind of my approach to gain staging here. And compared to my other board, which was more about how I stack the gain pedals, this one is either, you know, binary. It's either or, it's one or the other. You know, depending on, you know, how rockin' the song is, or what tone that I need to go for it in that moment. And then this is really the tail end of everything. So the JHS Tidewater tremolo, which sounds great, you know, and it's teeny tiny. And yeah, I like having the volume boost there as well, which I have used just to, you know, counteract that perceived loss of volume that you can get with some tremolo pedals. I don't notice that so much with the Boss TR2 that I use on my other board, but yeah, sometimes it just kind of feels like you lose energy once you kick your tremolo in, and so that one I just like boosting a couple of dB or something so that it's evened out with my regular clean tone. And then I've got the flashback there, just the mini, and I'm really only using that for slapback. And so I've got I forget what the patch is called, but it's like the double slap from Josh Smith. And so it's the same one that he's using on his board, and it's that tone print, which I've set up in there, and just gives me a really nice sort of vintage slapback tone. So I'll just use that exclusively for that sound. And then right at the end, I've got the Dispatch Master from Earthquake. And yeah, it's just a great pedal as a bit of a set and forget. I'll have it set in two ways. So for me, I'll have it with the reverb all the way off. I'm just working backwards here, but yeah, I think that's right. So I'll just have the reverb all the way off, and just have the mix kind of at 9 o'clock, and you know, 11 o'clock for the delay times and repeats and all that. And so that's kind of just my always on analog delay, which just trails nicely, doesn't get in the way, and you know, you pretty much only hear it when I've, you know, stopped playing, and you'll just hear the delay kind of trickle out. Or if I'm using an amp like the Marshall, or sometimes you get backline amps that have no reverb, and so I can just bring in a little bit of reverb here just to feel comfortable again, so it's not so you know, dry, obviously. And then, you know, it's a great vibe machine as well, so you can just kind of turn everything up, and yeah, you'll just get into some really spacey atmospheric stuff very quickly. But normally I just use it as a always on kind of sound, or just add a little bit of reverb to a dry amp. It does a great slapback as well, which I used to set up like that. And it'll just give me that, yeah, that vintage slapback tone. But yeah, just scored this one on the used market and had space for it on the board. So just thought I would put that on there to take care of those tones. And then this one here can just do its thing on the long delay trails instead. So yeah, so that was kind of designed as my country pedal board. I was doing a lot of sort of one-man country gigs, playing against a backing track and that sort of thing. But for me, it's been just a really good all-purpose Swiss Army knife board. Doesn't have a lot going on. It's just got the key tones that I go for, you know, in terms of the tremolo and the delays and all of that. Yeah, but I don't need a lot of modulation effects. I just need a few gain stages there for the rhythm stuff, for the solo tones, and then kind of for the vintage trail end as well. And then first time I've kind of used the looper, you know, for me, maybe it added sort of 5 or 10% more integrity to what I was doing. I just picked it up, you know, on Marketplace at a good price and thought I would try it out. It was certainly a lot more cabling and everything to it, but yeah, I suppose it's kind of adding, you know, to the quality of my signal chain. And use the Metro 24 board. which I picked up with a sturdy hard case there. And then everything was powered by the Ohio, the little Ohio power packs that I've got there. So I think I needed 9 or 10 power outlets in the end, and this was sort of the best way to go about it. And then I've just meticulously managed my cabling there with all those accessories that you can get from stores like Pedal Empire, just to tidy everything up on the underside there. So hopefully that's interesting or useful for some of you guys out there. Yeah, works great for me. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to help with any of your concerns. And yeah, hope you're well. See you for the next one.